But I got two things I want to talk about, and I'm probably going to break this video down into two videos. So this is probably the long format if you're watching this part of the video. First thing first. So I went out tonight, and I was with some friends that were in town, and we went to they're having a July 4th weekend. Parties and celebrations. And so it was great. It was fun. I got an opportunity to hang out with them dressed up. But going into the club, I didn't see anything like me being represented. Like, I felt like, one, I was a little too classy for the event that we were at. And secondly, like, there just wasn't many like non-binary femboys. There was a few trans girls, but they weren't really trying to like be pretty. And so I kind of felt a little out of place in the setting because I'm like, okay, one, I feel like I'm overdressed. Two, I don't see anybody that looks like me. And it was a whole bunch of like masculine presenting guys there because it was a LGBT type event. But later on in the night, I would be approached by a young man, and his compliment to me was that, oh my God, I saw you when you came in. You're beautiful, you're classy. Like, I've been looking for an opportunity to come speak to you tonight because you look great. And then he went on to tell me about his blonde wig and everything. And that's when I realized, sometimes with representation, like if you aren't willing to take the initiative and just be yourself, you'll never be able to see anybody that loves you for that or that values you for that, because you hiding who you are is not you giving yourself or the giving yourself or the situation the opportunity to present you with what it is that you deserve, which is recognition. So I was very excited for the recognition. And then, of course, a couple of friends who follow me on social media walked up and was like, oh my God, look at you. You look so good. And I was just thinking, okay, now I feel like I'm on cloud 10. But the second part of this video that I really want to talk about is something that happened the other day. So, one of my roommates was drunk and he touched one of my friends very inappropriately. It was like a hug that was a little bit more than a hug. And then he walked off. And I was really upset about the way that he behaved. But I knew that in that moment and in that setting, like him being drunk, I wasn't going to be able to get to him the way that I needed to be because you're inebriated. So you're going to just take it in one ear and take it out the other ear. So when I got the opportunity today to address him on the issue, he was like, oh, I was drunk, I don't remember anything. And I'm like, I'm sure you don't remember anything. But here's the thing. I said, if anybody touched your boyfriend the way you touched my friend in front of his boyfriend, that was very disrespectful. Okay. And while I know you don't remember the encounter, I want you to know that when you disrespect somebody, you give them the opportunity to disrespect you back. So next time you disrespect somebody, you will be disrespected back. Like, that is my only warning that I'm going to give you, because I shouldn't have to have this discussion with you. But the conversation that I was having with myself up into having this conversation with him, I was really upset. I was really angry. I was really triggered by it. And it took me having a conversation with a friend while I was venting for me to realize people can only exhibit to you what it is that they have learned. And if they have not learned something, you cannot expect them to go into a higher vibration or a higher sense of self if they themselves haven't found or discovered what that means, okay? And I'm gonna dig into this because I feel like what happened here was he wasn't respecting boundaries, okay? And the reason why it triggered me is because it reminded me of how I was touched very inappropriately as a very young child. And while my mom was very much so, if anybody touches you this way, you need to tell them that that's not appropriate and this, that, and don't let them touch you like that. That was great advice to give me, but the issue is my mom never taught me boundaries, okay? A lot of times, parents like to teach boundaries, but then they like to also use the idea that my authority gives me the right to violate your boundaries. You can't expect a child or anybody to know what it means to respect boundaries if you use authority to override that, right? Because the only authority that matters is the authority of self, okay? And so for me, I never was able to communicate that this was inappropriate because this was obviously somebody that was older than me, and you had tried to instill in me that age came with authority, okay? And now as an adult, I realize that age does not give you authority in any shape, form, or fashion. The only authority that you have is your authority of self. And so if you have not learned that there is no authority that can supersede boundaries besides yourself, your boundaries will constantly be violated because you're giving it to authority, whether they have emotional authority over you or the idea that maybe they're older than you, so they have that age authority over you. And so you have no sense of value and worth because it's being robbed because you feel like the authority has the right to violate your boundaries. And so for me, once I was able to understand that there is trauma that my roommate has undergone, where his boundaries have never been instilled in him because somebody has taught him that authority gives you the right to violate boundaries. And it doesn't. It doesn't. That feeds into this idea that there's a sense of entitlement or something like that. So even though I had the discussion with him and he looked at me with a very blank face and said, "Oh, I don't remember. I was drunk." Right. But you're not drunk now. Okay. And so you're going to listen to what I have to say because when you get drunk, you should be able to recall this conversation that we had when you weren't drunk. Because one thing with me is if I establish a boundary, there is no authority other than my own that gives me the right to bring that boundary down or to change that boundary. And so that was something that triggered me. And once I realized it, it was like, okay, now I know you don't understand. And that's okay that you don't understand, but I'm going to present this to you so that the next time this happens, you'll be aware of where I stand and where you stand and the repercussions that come with you violating my boundary because you think you have the authority.